Yeah, I was just muted myself. Oh Lord, I just messed it up. Having some technical difficulties here. All righty. This is your boy man up
A
here.
computer for you.
Ah man. How is everybody doing today? We have myself, man up, Mr. Joey, and as you can see, we have two special guests with us today. Do y'all want to go ahead and introduce yourselves? Let's start with the guy in the bottom right there. Go ahead and introduce yourself, kind sir.
I don't really know how to introduce myself other than I'm Caleb, and I know not quite as much as Ben does up there, but I know some of it. A little awkward too at this.
Who else do we have joining us today?
Hi, I'm Ben. Some of you guys know me from Championship Belt Brothers. I help run that group, and also I watch this podcast, and glad to be on here with you guys. I've been watching um, Japanese wrestling since I was a kid. You know, going back to watching All Japan Pro Wrestling and seeing that grow into a company and more Americans taking to it, and then New Japan, and I'll dabble in Noah and a few other of the groups here, the wrestling companies, but pretty much I've been watching Japanese wrestling since the 80s.
Alrighty. Mr. Joey, go ahead and ring that bell, kind sir.
I don't have it.
Oh man.
I didn't have the bell queued up.
Oh man. So all right, we're gonna go ahead and just get this match started right
Ding
now.
ding.
With that being said here, today's show is gonna be about Japanese wrestling. And myself, I am not too familiar with it. Yes, I have seen a few matches, but I'm gonna go ahead and let these three gentlemen go ahead and school me on today's match, on today's Japanese wrestling. Joey, what is your thoughts here, kind sir?
Well, I'll tell you a little bit about me. My exposure to it, obviously, like a lot of people, I saw the Great Muta really for me at Jim Crockett Promotions. Didn't see him really before that, but that was kind of my first exposure to like a Japanese professional wrestler, really. And then seeing Jushin Liger make trips through WCW always intrigued me. Mm-hmm. And then, funny enough, before I really got into watching it, when I got into the professional wrestling business, I met Naoya Ogawa when he was had won the NWA World Heavyweight Championship, and I kind of learned a lot. And then also spent a lot of time on the road with Dangerous Doug Gilbert, who was the IWA Japan World Champion, and he actually had a lot of Japanese wrestlers come on excursion from IWA Japan to the United States, stay with him in Tennessee, and learn, American wrestling, wrestle over here a little bit and travel with him. So I got to be around a lot of really good Japanese professional wrestlers, young wrestlers through being around Dangerous Doug Gilbert a lot. And so then I kind of got into Japanese wrestling in the early 2000s as far as watching it.
Okay. What about you there, Mr. Kind Sir Caleb?
I got hold on, I gotta do something else as well. But I got started around the original, was it New Japan on Access days? I think I sort of heard about it when AJ Styles jumped over. Mm-hmm. But that's about roughly the time I started watching New Japan.
Nice.
All righty. What about you there, Mr. Ben Kind Sir?
Oh man, we go back, and like I said, I remember growing up in Chicago, they would periodically show All Japan. So a lot of people don't know, everybody has this exposure that New Japan was the big Japanese company. Well, back in the 80s, it was All Japan. Back in the 70s, 80s, a lot of the main stars went to All Japan. They passed through All Japan. You had the Road Warriors, you had Stan Hansen, you had Brody, you had countless others that they all came from All Japan. Yeah. So just from me, I was exposed to it, like I said, back almost 40 years ago, and just grew into becoming a fan of all any Japanese wrestling, because those guys hit hard. They it's not, I don't want to use the word soft, but it's a hard hitting culture over there.
Yeah.
The strong style and the King's Road and just the different styles and the different techniques that they use over there. And that intrigued me, and it fit the style of the Road Warriors and Terry Gordy, the Americans that went over there. Those were all hard hitters. Those guys can lay it on you, Brody, and we know Stan Hansen because the man was blind in the ring and taking people's heads off.
Yeah.
But it's just, I just grew into it. And as the years passed, like Joey was saying, you would see Jushin Thunder Liger come to the United States. We would, we had Great Muta, considered one of the greatest of all time. That come out of Japan. You had the Masahiro Chonos, you had the Hiro Matsudas and Mr. Sayu. I can go all day. The great Kabuki. Like, these guys came over here to entertain us, but they showed us that style.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So that kind of lead into my first question there. I'm going to start this off with you, Mr. Joey. What in particular do you think is the difference in the styles, like in Japan wrestling and American wrestling?
It's the main thing is it's always presented more like an athletic contest, where American pro wrestling is very much, especially when you take into account that WWE is kind of American wrestling, and that's what everybody knows is American wrestling. I understand people view WWE as a worldwide brand, but when you're talking about in style comparison, it's American, 100%. 100% an American company, and it's drama, and it's a lot of 15-minute in-ring segments. You're not going to find that in Japan. You're not going to find chairs in the ring where they go on having a segment, and stuff like that. That's not a thing over there. It's very much presented like this is an athletic contest. This is very much presented like a sport, and it always kind of has been. It grew out of going back to post World War II, whenever Japan was kind of introduced to professional wrestling, when it had already been kind of established here in the States for decades, and it was already a spectator kind of sport here. But in Japan, it came out of like the sumo and it mixed in with American wrestling style. And then, it's very much always been, and then, a stiff athletic contest. Then when you get into the 70s and the birth of All Japan, the birth of New Japan, then you, like he said, King's Road and Strong Style, that's where you kind of split off there, but they were both, very full contact, very much presented. You had to be tough. You look at Hulk Hogan's story of Hiro Matsuda breaking him in and breaking his leg on day one just to see if he could take it. This is not how things are in America. That's very much what it still is.
What is your take on that, Mr. Caleb? What is your take on it?
Sorry, I was dealing with trying to promote the podcast. That's why we lost light there for a minute.
No, I was saying.
What were we talking about again?
I was saying, what do you think about the different styles in Japanese wrestling and American wrestling?
All I really know is they treat it more like a sport over there versus over here, where it's more entertainment. That's all I really know.
Okay. And what about you, there, Mr. Ben?
Oh yeah, it's to me it's same but different. Like I said, it's hard hitting. Their storylines are far more realistic than American wrestling. We've been conditioned and we've been trained in our minds with the American wrestling side. It's more of an entertainment side, as opposed to over in Japan is, I'm gonna beat you up, you're gonna beat me up, we're gonna keep going until somebody don't stand.
Right.
And that's what those two styles, they're not similar, but it's the word pro wrestling as a general, that's the only pretty much similarities that you can put with these. But other than that, I mean, there's not really, to me, there's not too many similarities between the two, because when you watch, if you watch an hour of New Japan Pro Wrestling, you're going to hear 10 minutes of talking and 50 minutes of action. You watch American, it's probably 60-40 or 70-30. You know, it's talking, you know, they build the storylines different. And it's just it's, to me, I don't like to compare the two. It's, you know, it's almost like the debate with Jordan and LeBron. You could try to compare them, but you can't.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay. All righty. So let me ask y'all this, because I've been thinking about this all day today before we got started. I'm gonna start with you, Mr. Caleb. Soon as you hear New Japan Wrestling, well, Japanese wrestling, period, all over, who was the first person that comes to your mind?
Probably the Great Muta is one of them. I could probably go on and on about names, but.
And why you say the Great Muta is the first one? Why do that person stand out to you?
Just the way he was presented, like in WCW and then sort of in Japan. I haven't really watched much of his WCW stuff, but I know I've seen a bunch of his Japan stuff.
Okay. And what about you, Joe? Who's the first person coming to your mind?
Antonio Inoki. Hands down. That's the guy to me that created New Japan Pro Wrestling. And although I have a great respect for all the promotions in Japan, to me, hands down, my favorite personally is New Japan Pro Wrestling, and I credit Antonio Inoki with the development of what we see today. You know, with New Japan being the industry standard in Japan to right now, they owe it all to Antonio Inoki and kind of his vision as far as what he saw. And that's kind of the difference between New Japan and All Japan. It's kind of the visions of the people that gave birth to these promotions, and they're both great. You know, they both are legendary in their own right. But to me, Inoki is a guy that had all the credibility as far as being a legitimate, tough, professional wrestler, a guy that influenced mixed martial arts as we know it, and a guy that to me doesn't get the credit, deserves credit worldwide for what he has done and given to professional wrestling in general.
All right. Same question go for you though, Mr. Ben. Who's the first person coming to your mind and why?
Keiji Muto.
Okay.
Or Great Muta, however you want to address him. And I say this because to me, Inoki he gave exposure to New Japan. He did. He opened the doors for New Japan to be seen worldwide. And I'll give credit to Giant Baba, same thing. He did that with All Japan. But to me personally, I think Keiji Muto, he kind of brought that environment within the last, 25, 30 years, where that exposure with him helped open up the doors to a lot of these Japanese wrestlers getting in WWE, getting in Impact, getting in AEW, getting in the NWA. A lot of those followed his path. If you ask a lot of those Japanese wrestlers in today's wrestling, he is the person they will name first. He kind of helped, that popularity of the Japanese stars. Again, Baba and Inoki opened the doors for him. So to me, I'm a big Great Muta fan. So I always saw him, to me, as the greatest Japanese wrestler of all time. It's debatable. And I understand that. It's just my opinion.
All right. Joey, I got a question for you.
Okay.
When it comes to Japanese wrestling, there are seveul promotions. I know that much.
Many. Just like over here.
Yeah, just like in America.
Yeah.
When it comes to the like all of these Japanese wrestling promotions, who do you think are the faces of these particular promotions?
Well, he just mentioned it. If you go back, Inoki would be the face of New Japan. Giant Baba, certainly the face of All Japan for years and years, and Misawa really being the face of Pro Wrestling Noah. Am I wrong there? like he's the guy that walked away from All Japan to form Pro Wrestling Noah, and it hurts when you're an All Japan fan, but at the same time, it had to happen because still to this day we have Pro Wrestling Noah, and I would say out of anything, Noah's the one to watch because they are really killing it and they're building their crowds bigger and becoming bigger. We just got the second Wrestle Kingdom in January was the Noah New Japan crossover, so it's nice to see that those two companies are back working together because it's been a rocky relationship on and off through the years. Mm-hmm. There was a partnership because at one time Gato was booking in both companies, and that's when Minoru Suzuki and Suzuki-gun went over to Noah and kind of ran roughshod over there for a little bit, but they kind of shared talent and it was nice. Then they kind of broke up for a little bit. Now they're kind of coming back together and doing some business, and it's good to see. It's something you don't see a lot over here. A lot of joining together, but New Japan also, having partnerships, long-time partnership with Ring of Honor here, and now a partnership just announced with Impact Wrestling, which is a re-partnership because they had a partnership before in the 2000s that kind of went bad over how Impact Wrestling used Kazuchika Okada.
Yeah, that didn't go over well. Him and Tanahashi both, they were not happy about.
Okada became the ace.
Right.
The new
ace was over here trying to job him over here.
And Impact was better than Okada in Impact. They pretty much turned Okada into Green Hornet. I don't even really think they did much to Tanahashi.
Yeah, he just didn't do anything with him. They just, they brought him in, put AJ Styles over him, and that was kind of it. It was kind of like, well, we put our guy over him.
Right.
And it's kind of like, okay, and Shinsuke Nakamura made a couple of trips, and something we should elaborate on is what we mean by the ace of a promotion, because that's not a term that you hear in American wrestling. The ace is that's a term that really got coined and made popular for Hiroshi Tanahashi. Let's be honest. Mm-hmm. That's why in his video package coming to the ring, it's still go ace, go ace.
Right. Yeah.
And he's not the ace now, but he still is, because what a lot of people don't understand it, and I'll kind of go into this and then pass it off so somebody else can talk about it. In the late 90s, once mixed martial arts started kind of coming up, this is one of Inoki's faults. Inoki kind of thought that Japanese professional wrestling basically needed to become MMA, especially in New Japan. And that did not get over.
It cost him his company, yeah.
Yeah. And then Ogawa, as one of them, started just beating the brakes off of everybody in the company, and they couldn't really control it anymore, and it kind of lost what was pro wrestling about it. You had guys like Bob Sapp become the IWGP heavyweight champion, and God knows it just, it's not that I don't like Bob Sapp, but he shouldn't have been IWGP heavyweight champion.
No.
He wasn't over like that. He was a good fighter. He's a legend in kickboxing and MMA in Japan, but for the love of God, he had no charisma or ability as a professional wrestler whatsoever. So the reason the term ace is used is because New Japan's crowds started getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and Japanese wrestling overall suffered. And Tanahashi, along with, to a lesser degree, Shinsuke Nakamura and Shibata, as the Three Musketeers, kind of helped bring New Japan out of the a grave that was being dug and put them back on top. And so since Tanahashi was kind of the guy, the big star that really pulled New Japan up and Japanese pro wrestling as a whole back up and put them back as a big deal, packing out the Tokyo Dome, that's kind of where he's referred to as the ace, because he's the guy that kind of saved it. He's the biggest star in the company, and that's why kind of like after him, Okada's the ace. Okada is the biggest star in Japan now, but Tanahashi is still right there with him. Like, Tanahashi can do no wrong. He's basically like how The Undertaker became in the United States, where he could lose every match and it did not matter because you would still pay your money to see him. That's where Tanahashi is.
All right, Ben, you got any kind of follow up on that, sir?
No, Joey kind of wrapped it up there. I mean, everything Joey said, I totally have to agree with. And it's just, again, it was that culture. They had to come from the ashes and rise again. Once they did, I mean, look at them now. Let's be honest. They're the number 2 wrestling company in the world.
In the world, yeah.
People will say what they want to say, New Japan. I always say if New Japan come to the United States, WWE is in trouble. If they make a serious run at the United States, I don't think it's going to happen, but it's possible.
I was finna be my next question there. Do not just WWE, but American wrestling. If Japanese wrestling was to come to America, be a base here in America, I'm throwing that to you, Mr. Caleb. Do you think that New Japan would take out American wrestling?
Probably could. Shoot. I'm not gonna be put on the spot, but probably. I know New Japan would probably kick a lot of other companies' butts, like Impact, AEW. Well, AEW for sure, but they would probably do really big business if they partnered with WWE, but I'd never see that happening.
Okay.
They also
got off topic.
Well, they have. I mean, what a lot of people don't realize is people like Kushida still live in the United States for a reason.
Right.
And he's back under contract to New Japan. He belongs to them. He is New Japan. He may be wrestling on Impact, but he is all New Japan again. So the thing is, there's a strategic reason they're keeping him there, and they've kept Kenta in the U.S. and they've kept certain stars. Jay White, they moved him to the United States, even though there's speculation on what the Switchblade is doing with his career from here. He was put in the United States for a reason, and he's not American. So, they knew what they were doing, and they're trying to position themselves to grow here in America.
Mm-hmm.
But like Ben kind of alluded to, it's hard to see New Japan Pro Wrestling wanting to put all their chips into the American market when they're making money in Japan. Like they are, and they are number one in Japan. WWE does not draw the crowds in Japan that New Japan Pro Wrestling does. They don't, not even close. So they don't pack out the Tokyo Dome.
See, I think y'all read my mind because that was gonna be my next question. I'm gonna throw it to you, Ben. Would American wrestling? Now, I'm not just talking about WWE. I'm talking about all of American wrestling: Impact, AEW, NWA. I mean, all the American wrestling companies. Do you think if they was to go overseas to Japan, do you think there'll be a box office hit?
No.
Yep.
No.
I agree.
And let's take the WWE out of that equation. All right, like you just did. All right, because WWE is worldwide. The NWA at one time was worldwide. The NWA was well and received and respected in Japan. Is that the case now? I don't think so. Because the NWA is not the company it was, 25, 30, 40 years ago. So for one of these companies to try to draw in Japan, I think didn't Impact try it?
I believe so. I
I think they tried, and it didn't go well. They had the agreement with Wrestle One for a little bit when Muta was running Wrestle One, and it didn't work. It really didn't work out. I mean, I think that was cost Wrestle One its company is because of that agreement. They tried to push Impact into Japan. These smaller companies, AEW might make a dent. I don't really see it.
Yeah.
WWE, like you said, WWE can go to Tokyo Dome, and New Japan will outdraw them 6 days out of 7.
Yeah.
It's just I think the style is, and I get this all the time. People say that the Japanese crowd don't cheer and all this stuff.
Yeah.
But they're well reserved. They're into that match.
Oh.
And
I've noticed that myself when I have seen a few Japanese matches, wrestling matches.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think of the right term, but when I have watched a few myself, that was the first thing I noticed. The crowds was quiet, and I was telling Joey this offline because he had sent me a couple of matches to watch. I forget which one that was. I forgot the name of it, the show, but they were done. I kept hearing the announcer saying they was in a government building, so they could not be as loud as I guess they wanted to be. I guess that's the term to use.
And that was because of COVID. But even before COVID, they wasn't like a WWE show where they're cheering and it's loud and there's all these explosions and stuff like that. It's a different type of environment. It's like sit back and watch and enjoy the show, but there's not a lot of crowd interaction. They'll scream out something every once in a while.
I don't know. Like I just shared the match from several years back, right before Nakamura and AJ Styles went to WWE, where they had that Wrestle Kingdom match for the IWGP Intercontinental. The crowd was loud for that, and they were loud during it, and they were loud. They popped on the way down too. The same thing happened with Will Ospreay and Kenny Omega. Mm-hmm. And I said that, and that's a good example to bring up is, as far as mixing kind of a new style in with the old style. If you watched Ospreay and Omega at Wrestle Kingdom, the story was really unique, a very different story than we're used to in any kind of professional wrestling. But they still brought that junior heavyweight style of wrestling. And I say that because a lot of people think junior heavyweight is just a weight class, but not in Japan. It's a style too. It's the hyperlink style. These guys are technically in the heavyweight division, but they're still juniors in the way they wrestle. And they come from that mind space and everything like that. But it was definitely strong style. Like the black eyes and busted faces and everything showed that at the end of the match. That was all beautifully done. Those guys, working together amazingly, but having nice heat involved in building to the match where they had you believing that they really had this hatred and animosity towards each other over Omega's exit and creation of AEW and everything. But I say it was masterfully done, but if you watch that match, they were into it. They were loud and they were vocal. And the same thing happened even in New Year's Dash, whenever like Omega came out to Devil's Sky again, like what they haven't heard in years. They were clapping and like on their feet and stuff like that. So it depends. It depends on how they approach things. But let's go ahead and address the elephant in the room. In no way is it a normal thing to say that Sasha Banks didn't get a reaction in the Tokyo Dome because they're just quiet. She just isn't over there.
Right.
I'm sorry. I'm going to call.
Oh, man. I'm laughing, y'all, because Joey said this a lot in our private chats and stuff. and Joey keeps saying Sasha Banks ain't crap.
She watched her debut.
Right. Yeah. Bad.
I come to Japan and botch anything.
I don't think they should put the title on her, but I got a feeling they're going to do it.
Yeah.
I think they're going to do it probably because
I think they're going
in
to
America. But
right.
Yeah.
Caleb,
right.
What are your thoughts on?
We all know Kairi
Sane
Sane in America. Why?
I think they'll probably put the belt on her to try and appeal more to American fans.
Yeah. But the idea that all over social media that she just, it's not that she's not over there. No, there were Americans that were at the show, were in the crowd and talked about how Japanese fans were like, who is this? She must really like money.
That's just
they did not know who she was.
That's for you right there, Joey.
Yep, over like a fart in church.
All right, Joey. I'm gonna start with you on this one here, Mr. Caleb. When it comes to American wrestling and Japanese wrestling, who was the first person in your mind to do the crossover? Was it one way or the other, from America to Japanese or Japanese to America? Who was successful? I'll put it like that.
I'm probably just going to say the same answer for everything because my mind's like all jumbled up right now, but would probably be AJ Styles.
Okay. Any particular reason why you say that?
Not that I can really think of.
Okay. What about you there, Mr. Ben?
Antonio Inoki.
Yeah.
Antonio Inoki, man.
Okay.
He was.
I think we lost him.
He might pop back in.
I think we lost him. All right, while we're waiting on him, we'll go to you, Joey.
Yep, Inoki you can mention. You can the Great Muta was definitely, like I said, my first exposure. So, him wrestling on TV, wrestling Sting, and having that great series of matches for the TV title. Ben is back now, I think.
Yeah, he kind of throws up there, Ben.
So it's hard to name one, but Inoki, going in order, I guess it would be Inoki, then Muta, Liger, and then go so on and so forth. If you're talking about coming from Japan to American, getting and being able to get over, that's a good hand there. AJ definitely one that came from the States and got over in Japan, especially since a lot of it was telling them who AJ Styles was, because he wasn't that well known in Japan. Mm-hmm. But bringing him into Bullet Club and having that kind of legitimize him as a Gaijin heel allowed him to succeed, and then his ability to perform on that high level with guys like Kazuchika Okada won over that crowd. But I throw it back to Ben because we interrupted him, unfortunately, because he got froze.
Yeah, go ahead and continue that, Ben. Yeah, it kind of broke up there.
Okay, making sure. Antonio Inoki. Antonio Inoki, man. I mean, he crossed over so much. And he introduced, he was WWF champion. Even though they're not going to recognize it. So he kind of, he brought that environment over to the United States, and that's why a lot of us were introduced to the Japanese wrestling. And then others followed. You guys named off quite a few of them. Joey named off quite a few of them. One of my favorites growing up was Great Kabuki. I remember him. And so many people after him have used that style, Muta and Tajiri and Asuka, and they've followed that in that path of him. So Antonio Inoki would be that guy, created that crossover.
Now, I will say this here, for me, the first person that I watched over in New Japan was Brock Lesnar. Now, I didn't watch a whole lot of his stuff over there, but I did watch a couple of his matches, 2 or 3, whatever. So it wasn't that many. But the style when I kind of got, I'm not going to say into it because I'm not really into it, but when I did watch a few little bit of it, I'm not going to lie, first to me, I was like, it's boring. And I guess the reason why I thought that is because, of course, I'm into American entertainment in general, not just wrestling, but all sports that I'm into, all the kind of different kind of entertainment that I'm into. So when I watched that, I was like, nah. But then again, I watched it again, I want to say like maybe 5-6 years ago or something like that it was, with AJ Styles. I want to say about something like that. Don't quote me on that. I might be wrong about time frame. But anyway, I watched it again with AJ Styles, and it got a little bit more entertaining with me, I guess you could say. And it caught my attention. Then when I started linking up with Joey and Cedric, and we started talking about all the different genres of wrestling, Joey is the one who really got me into Japanese wrestling a little bit more. Now, I'm not going to say I'm 100% sold on it because I don't want a lot of you guys like that, but I'm into it. You know what I mean? So watching it, now it's like, okay, it's not. I mean, I can understand why I seen it the way I seen it before in the first time, because when it comes to like American-based entertainment in general, then you go to like another country's entertainment, it's completely different. So it's like you got to open up your mindset to receive it better, I guess you could say, and that way you can enjoy it a lot more. Because I will admit I didn't know how to even receive this. You know what I'm saying? So, well, for me, like I said, it was Brock Lesnar and AJ Styles that really got me noticing Japanese wrestling.
It was an acquired taste.
True.
Right.
I mean, you could say the same thing. I grew up in Memphis, Tennessee. WWE was a joke down where I'm from. Like, I'm sorry, it was, because growing up, people would make fun of like people that watch like WCW and Memphis wrestling and stuff like that that I watched that with would make fun of WWE because they'd be like, the guy didn't even hit the guy, right. like Hacksaw Jim Duggan be having a match and his hand didn't even get near the face, like that's the reason, down south, especially down there, they don't take to WWE the same way nowadays they have, because they think it's the only thing around.
It's the same in Chicago. When I grew up in Chicago, the AWA and NWA was better received there than WWF.
Yeah.
Because it was kind of cartoonish.
Yeah.
And it's just the Japanese wrestling. And then I get people that ask me all the time, how do you think about it and what do you think about it? It's like, well, it's different. When you get into it, though, you'll understand it better. Just give it a chance.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this person right here, I don't know who this is. It says Facebook user. I was just going to bring in luchador style wrestling. That was going to be my next question.
That's a whole different discussion.
Yeah, I was just going to say, would you mix those in, like saying that like
there's
similar,
no comparison?
Or no. Okay.
There's a small element of lucha in Japan.
Yeah.
It's in there. It's in there, and they like to do their exchanges and excursions to Japan, and a lot of some of the Mexican based wrestlers will go to Japan.
Yeah,
they do, but it started to become more. And the one name I'll throw out there is Ultimo Dragon.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one name that I would say he's probably, to me, the best wrestler to describe as a mixture between Japanese wrestling and lucha. He's that perfect mix of it.
What about Tetsuya Naito, for example? I think he went over to Mexico and then he came back, and now look at him.
Yeah. I think he got a lot of his like outfit design and stuff like that from there. The difference is like I think American wrestling has taken more and borrowed more from lucha than I think that Japan has. In other words, wrestling in America has become much more acrobatic and more of a contest of doing moves, which is a lot like what lucha is, to be honest, and less like less like a fight. Like
more high spots than anything.
Yeah, and so a more American wrestling is taken to that, where how Ricochet was somewhat successful in Japan, but the big difference is you look at two guys that were kind of on the same level back then, Ricochet and Will Ospreay, because they were both known for a very similar style of acrobatics and high spots and things like that. But look at the trajectory of the change there. Ricochet's kind of still doing that to a degree, and it's not really leading to him being very successful. But Will Ospreay kind of changed up his style a lot. Now he knows. Now he's a lot better at when to insert high spots, into making it mean something. Which, if you watch the match with Kenny Omega, like there was a lot of like strong style in there, but they still got the high spots in. Like it was still like there was still, especially Ospreay, looking like he was concussed for half the match, even though obviously he wasn't. For him to come back and do some of the stuff that he did. But that's why I say like some of those guys like Will Ospreay, to succeed in New Japan, kind of had to develop that strong style within him and do less of the high spots.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention he put on like 25 pounds of muscle mass.
Right.
Okay. Now I'm finna throw trivia, not trivia. I'm sorry. I'm finna put all three of y'all on the spot. I want y'all to give me y'all top 3 favorite Japan wrestlers and why. I'm gonna start with you, Caleb.
Crap.
If you want time to think about it, I'll come back to you.
I can only think of the people. I can't explain why.
We'll just name them then. That's fine.
Yeah, go ahead and name them.
They ain't got to be in any particular order.
Yeah, just name 3 that you like the most.
Tanahashi is one. Who else do I like? Katsuhiko Nakajima from Pro Wrestling Noah is another one that I am starting to like very much right now. And then a guy that I'm kind of a little high on is Konosuke Takeshita.
Okay. I'm gonna throw that same question to you there, Mr. Ben.
Okay. Keiji Muto's number 1. Inoki is number 2. And number 3 is tough, man. Number 3 is tough. I liked Hashimoto.
Yeah.
I liked him because
Okay.
it was just his style. He's just big guy that can move just the way he move. And I also have to throw in there Ultimo Dragon.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what about
also
you,
throw in
Joe?
there.
I'd have to, if I was going number 3 to number 1, number 3 for me is going to be the Rainmaker Okada, because to me, he's the best wrestler in the world today. And I've heard the arguments, but to me, this guy outperforms everybody. To me, he delivers on a high level.
Yeah.
It upsets me in my heart that Kenny Omega got all the credit from Americans for their feud, because I feel like if you go back to the root of it, Okada produces these type of matches with all of his opponents to a degree. There's some guys he tried hard to pull some good matches out of, and it was tough. But he had these kind of great matches with AJ Styles. He had these kind of matches with, Tanahashi. He had these kind of matches with Tetsuya Naito. Like, he's so good. Like, it's no surprise to me. And he gets John Cena-ish in the way he keeps getting back on top. I think people get a little sick to death of him, but there's a reason. Like, he continuously performs at that highest level, and it's hard for anybody else to do that. Second to me, hold on. I'm a big Satoshi Kojima fan. I'm glad he's in Pro Wrestling Noah as one half of the Global Honor Crown Tag Team Champions. Just had a run as a Global Honor Crown Heavyweight Champion. And the guy's like, 50 or over now? Like,
he's like 51 years old. Yeah.
NWA World Heavyweight Champion, multi-time IWGP Heavyweight and Heavyweight Tag Team Champion, All Japan. Like, Kojima is one of those guys that doesn't get talked about enough. And I loved Tenkozy as a tag team. Like, to me, you put two Japanese legends together and made a super team out of them, and that's what they were. They're both just brilliant. And then, of course, the great Muta. Like, I cannot mention it without mentioning Keiji Muto, and God, who's keeps having these retirement matches. But I love the match with Shinsuke Nakamura. I haven't really seen the 6-man tag yet, but you can bet your butt I'm going to watch the one with Tetsuya Naito, because that's going to be a barn burner. Like, you can expect Muto to give you everything in his very last match. It's going to be something special.
Now, I got a question for everybody. What is your dream match? Past, present, mix it up, whatever. What is your dream match? But before I ask that question, let me go ahead and bring in our normal tag team partner here.
Guys, good evening. I'm coming to you all from a freaking cruise ship, but I'm tuning in. So good evening, everybody. Appreciate everybody being here. This awesome freaking discussion. We're gonna come back to what I want talk to our esteemed panel about. But yeah, go ahead and ask a question.
Well, I'm gonna start with you. Your dream match. Who can you think of?
Damn, sir! I just got here, sir. Good lord!
I feel like I need to.
I got one for you, and Joy would appreciate this one. Kazuchika Okada versus Stan Hansen. I would love to see Hansen with his lariat and Okada with his Rainmaker. I'll be all on board with that. I don't know about y'all.
Okay, all right.
I can't even picture Okada being able to get Hansen in the Rainmaker, but with the size difference. But you're right; it probably would be a great match.
Okay, all righty. Let's go ahead and throw that same question to you, Mr. Ben.
Oh man,
dream match.
Oh, I'm gonna throw the pass card. Give me a minute to think this one out, man. Give me a minute to think this one out. Because you trying to get me to pick my brain over the last 50 years almost.
Yeah, I got to.
Yes, sir. Yes.
I got to. All right. Well, he passing the card, so he pulled out the pass card. So Mr. Caleb, dream match there.
Oh, trying to think about it the entire time you were asking everyone else.
Boy, everybody stumped tonight. Okay.
I got mine though. I'm ready.
That's why I waited. That's why I waited for Joey, because I know he got something.
You guys
That's
said
why I waited.
over errors, man, and
It is the dream match.
I've been watching all of
Ibushi
this for the
versus
last
Paul?
40 years.
I mean, we could sit here and name 25 dream matches. Hard that you can't just name one.
Yeah, you
Right.
can. Come on. You can.
But I got one that I definitely want to see.
All right, go ahead. Go ahead,
Okay.
Joey.
I'd like to see Masahiro Chono in his prime versus New Japan Shinsuke Nakamura in his prime. Strong style, like somebody's leaving on a stretcher.
That's a good match.
That's two of the hardest hitting guys, like in the history, especially of New Japan Pro Wrestling. Two of the hardest hitting guys. Chono, if China were alive, I'd ask you to ask her what happened when she wrestled Chono.
Mm.
I got one. I got one.
Who
I
you
got
got
one.
there?
Go for it.
Eddie Guerrero versus Jushin Thunder Liger.
Nice.
Okay.
Mm.
I think that might have happened.
Okay.
I forgot.
I don't
about
think
Eddie
that
Guerrero. I forgot about Eddie Guerrero.
Because Eddie had already left Japan before Jushin started to pick traction up.
I
So
forgot
that would
about
have
that.
been Eddie probably wouldn't have been Black Tiger by then. I don't think.
No, he was already gone.
But prime versus prime, speaking like that would
Yeah,
be
Prime versus Prime. I think that match is gonna be fast.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a fast one. Like
Okay.
I said, there's so many that's spinning in my head right now. I just shout out one of them that came right to my head.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead and hold that thought. Go ahead and hold that thought, because that's something that we could revisit. But we did a lot of talking about what we have currently. And we touched about a lot of the Japanese guys who transited to American. Let's go ahead and talk about some of the Americans that transcended pretty well to the Japanese side. Especially back in the All Japan days. I'm gonna throw this to Ben. What are some of those guys that come to mind?
You talking about
I'm just going off that, because back in the days, when wrestlers, like they go do a 3-week tour in Japan. I'm talking Funks, Hanson, all those
Funk,
cats.
Brody,
Yeah,
Gordy,
yeah,
Williams.
Just touch base on that for me a little bit, Ben.
I mean, those guys went over there primarily because Baba paid better than most promoters. And when they went over there, they got introduced to that type of style. They loved it. The problem is they came back to the United States with it, because look at Gordy and Williams.
Yeah.
And those guys, they didn't appreciate, a lot of those guys here didn't appreciate that unless they knew the experience they dealt with over there in All Japan.
The only team they really had to go toe to toe with them was the Steiner
Steiners.
Was the Steiners.
Steiners, yeah.
because the Steiners
So
love that style too.
they wrestled in New Japan.
Yeah.
So,
Uh-huh.
they were in that environment where they understood.
Yeah.
And they brought that over here. Brody brought it over here. Brody, Abdullah the Butcher brought it over here. Those guys went over there, and they, like I said earlier, it's just a different approach, storytelling styles, the way those guys train over in the dojos over there and everything. It's just totally, you get a better appreciation of it.
I'll tell you a topic we haven't addressed yet. Japanese wrestling influence on America. Would we ever have had a ECW as we know it without Frontier Martial Arts Wrestling?
No.
Okay.
That was their partner. I mean,
But
James,
FMW kind of developed the style, and so did IWA Japan. Those two
IWA
companies.
Japan, right?
All right. So I need Japanese wrestling for dummies. You said from martial arts wrestling, IWA Japan. Just kind of talk us through that just a little bit.
In the early 90s.
Yeah, like who started it? What like who
I don't
who were
even know.
the guys there? Oh,
I don't know who started the companies. I know that
Yeah.
that was one thing that they kind of invented that whole. I mean, they didn't invent it, but yeah, it was popularized. The hardcore wrestling and stuff like that was popularized in Japan. You had guys like the original Sheik that were big
Yes.
stars
Okay.
in FMW, and it started to be like I know I heard a lot of stories from Doug Gilbert when he was going over there, and he was doing the Leatherface character in IWA Japan, and they would do those like exploding ring matches, and just they kind of everything ECW developed into hardcore style, which then got heavily diluted and turned into WWF hardcore. All came from these two kind of independent Japanese companies that were drawing actually pretty big crowds over there doing this stuff, really kicking off the deathmatch era and, exploding bombs in the ring and stuff like that. Just crazy nonsense. Barbed wire matches where the ropes were taken off and it was barbed wire for ropes.
Barbed wire, right.
Which had never been done in America until ECW kind of stole it from them and did it.
Go look up Onita.
Yeah.
I think
Go
the
look
worst
him up.
part.
Onita.
Onita, Onita.
Yeah.
Look him up on YouTube or any other platform you like to look at, use to watch videos. Look him up. You'll get.
Yeah.
I think the guy is still active.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think he did a freaking show. I want to say on the East Coast. I think he did a match with Bully Ray. If I'm not mistaken, they had some kind of freaking match there.
He has matches with
Onita?
Muta.
Yeah.
Onita had a match with Bubba Ray Dudley?
Yeah.
I believe so. It was Onita. It was somebody. I had to double check. But I think I remember hearing about it on Busted Open once.
If I was going to pick an opponent for Onita,
matter of fact, sorry if I'm interrupting people. I apologize. But
no, go ahead and talk.
If I remember correctly, because I watched that show, I believe he came out as the Great Nita.
Great Nita. No, that was a second. That was a second match. He was painted like Muta, but he had a karate suit on. Yep, that was one of the good matches.
Okay.
He wrestled Bubba Ray? Like, I just can't.
I can share the show with you later if you want me to.
Please do, because if I was going to pick an opponent for Onita in the United States, the first name that comes to mind would not be Bubba Ray Dudley. But okay. I'm just like, of all the people,
Joey just can't see it. He just can't see
New
it.
Jack. You got all these guys.
He can't see it. He can't see it.
That you could have put together. Hell, you got XPW guys you could have put him in the ring with, and you picked Bubba Ray Dudley.
Joey just can't see that happening.
I just don't get it.
Oh man.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm gonna be honest. I'm not trying to hate. I'm just like, of all the most hardcore people that you had in the United States, you picked one of the Dudley boys. Okay. All right.
All righty then, Joey. I think you lit a fire on the Joey right there.
No, I'm just saying, like, I'm shocked. I'm genuinely shocked. Like, if I'm booking Onita in the United States, I know we get Bubba Ray to do it.
There you go, Joey. Just for you, Joey.
Hey,
just for you.
Why am I hating on him? Because he's a guy that got fired from WWE for hurting everybody he got in the ring with. So, on purpose. Because he's a piece of crap. Anyway.
All righty then. All righty. So before we end this, because we got a few minutes left for today's show. Before we end this, one of our two special guests got a new belt in. Would you mind showing it, kind sir?
Show some of the belts, yeah.
Yeah, please do.
All righty.
Yes, zoom in on that, man. Zoom in on that.
All righty. So go ahead and explain this belt.
This was the original GHC heavyweight title when Noah first formed, up until about, I think, either 17 or 19.
Mm-hmm.
I can't even hold it straight. Weird looking.
You like that man up? It's dual plated.
Oh yeah, I'm a sucker for dual plated. I'm a sucker
Yes,
for
sir.
dual plated. I really am. But that's nice though, man. That's real
Yep.
nice.
Thank you.
That's real
We got
nice.
to get Ben to show some of the belts he's got because he showed.
Oh, here we go. Here we
Show
go.
me that GHC national title too. We got to see that. Like, got to show that one again. That's such a beauty. Woo!
Oh wow, look at that.
And that's a belt currently being used there.
Give me a little bit of history on that belt there, Mr. Ben.
It's not an old championship. They introduced it 3 or 4 years ago. I wish you don't throw me a curveball like that. I know could have had my notes up here ready, man. What's wrong
I
with
think
you?
is it El Hijo dos Caras?
Yeah, that name. Yeah. So yeah, this was because I remember when Michael Elgin held it
Yeah.
when he was wrestling for Noah. I think he was the first champion.
He's still there wrestling for Noah too.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm surprised
Yeah,
they let him in the door. What else you guys want to see?
All right, show us another one.
Whatever you want to show us,
Show us
Japanese,
another
sir. Whatever you want.
Show us another one.
Whatever you want to show us, sir.
Let's have my room, man. I mean,
Show us.
Well,
let's
yeah. Show us one more, and then
you gotta excuse my mess here.
Okay.
So
Yeah, show us one. Then we'll come back to the rest of them at another time. How about that? And
okay, that's fair
then we can
enough.
talk that.
That's fair enough. Thank you.
That's fair enough?
You're such
Okay.
a gentleman.
I got you, man.
Yo.
Just a
I got
gentleman.
you, sir.
Real quick, hold on.
Okay. Yeah, because Ben's collection is freaking amazing.
Yeah.
So we can do a whole show on his Japanese collection alone. So we're gonna save that for y'all on this
Leave
show.
something in the comments
We gonna
if you
save
want to
that.
see if you want to get Ben back on here just to show his collection.
Oh,
If
show
I-
you.
Oh yeah, that. Oh,
he got
that's
another
gonna
one
happen
right
right there.
He got another one right there. Hold on,
What-
hold on.
What we got there? What we got there?
Yeah, this probably will relate better to this show today. So I made I used this design. It was a design made for someone else, but I made a unified Perozu championship belt.
Whoa.
Okay,
Nice.
All Japan,
Nice.
Okay.
Noah, the old Noah logo,
Okay.
New Japan, Pro Wrestling Zero.
That's fabulous.
That is nice.
That's
So-
fabulous, bro.
Yeah, I guess I figured if I'm gonna grab another one, it should be this one, and then on there, the plate there has the companies on there. So yeah,
Nice.
there's something I like I said, I used the base design off of another belt someone had made, but then I changed the side plates to the companies. And at that time I was thinking,
definitely.
you know, say it again. I'm sorry.
Well, go ahead.
Oh, I thought you said something. I'm sorry. So
No, no.
yeah, this is like one of the ones. It's at the top of all my Japanese base belts. But yeah, I had this made here. Yeah,
That's freaking amazing, and being hopefully you will definitely indulge us on a future episode in which we can take a deeper look into a portion of that collection you got there, sir.
definitely.
Alrighty,
You know me, man. I'm open, you know, to doing that. But thank you for having me here, man. I appreciate it.
Oh,
Alrighty,
school's out.
Y'all heard that bell. School's out. Man Up has went to school and learned a lot about Japanese wrestling. I mean, wow, what an education I got today. My brain is on overload right now. I got a migraine taking all this in.
Yeah. Man up got the freaking migraine. Hey guys, yeah. So this is something that we'll try with you all. If you like what y'all heard, drop it in the freaking comments. And if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you drop it in the comments. If you want more, we're gonna give you more because that's what we do here at Bells and Belts. So make sure you like and subscribe on YouTube. Joey, what else can they do?
Yeah, join our Facebook group, Bells and Belts Podcast. Look us up on Facebook. You can definitely join us on there. Ben shared a couple links on there. He's got a link to the show right now, so just follow that to YouTube if you want, or wherever he linked it from, and you'll find us. We'd love it if you would subscribe on YouTube and also like the videos, because that helps us get the message out there and raise awareness for our channel. Also, we want to make mention that there's certain reasons to be a member of the group and be part of the YouTube. We drop a lot of shorts and stuff like that on YouTube that you're not going to see advertised on the Facebook group. And then vice versa. We do polls as far as your creative input. If you're a member of the group, you're part of the creative team with Bells and Belts. We want to know your input, what you want to see, what you did maybe like, maybe we don't need to do again. If you never want to see Caleb again, just let us know. He's out.
Why are we putting on me? Just being quiet.
Hey, it's about time they take it off of me and put it on somebody else.
Oh, you the heat man nigga around there.
Oh yeah, they always put it on me.
I'm just saying. Yeah. Don't get it twisted, man. I may be on a cruise ship, but I'm here to be the heel to you, sir. I'm just don't get this twisted not one bit, sir. I'll be back in full with my man up his wrong side. Don't get it twisted.
I like seeing that sign, that's for sure.
Also,
exactly. See?
Also, look out on the Facebook group. Caleb's going to make a post. He's got a great source, a great company that sells a lot of Japanese DVDs. It's where he gets a lot of his DVDs on. And he may just have a promo code to help you save a little bit if you kind of want to get into collecting these and watching some.
Right.
There you
Look
go.
out for
Good
that.
stuff.
All righty. Also, too, when y'all do subscribe to us on YouTube, make sure y'all click that bell and hit all notifications, so that way, anytime we drop something, you will be notified right away. So with that being said, for Man Up, Cedric, Joey, Ben, and Caleb, we loved it. We loved y'all. This was a great show, but we got to go. Y'all enjoy the rest of y'all day. Y'all stay safe out there now.